Hello, and welcome to part 4 of my video review series on the Derya Melik pistol, the Road to 1,000 rounds. In case you haven't seen the previous parts, links are in the video description. Let's begin. As I mentioned at the end of part 3, my wife gave me a Beretta 92X Centurion for Christmas. This gave me a great reference point for re-evaluating my Melik's ongoing extractor issues. Here's an approximate dimensional comparison of the extractor claw to breech face. I'll throw up some lines to show they are pretty close in scale. Now, let's mark the inner edge of the extractor claw. Now, adding a common line, we can see that the stock Melik claw is way too close to the breech face. The modified claw closely matches the spacing on the 92X. I want to note, the modified one shown here is the final modified version that I did, not the one used in the previous shooting footage. The restricted dimension on the Melik is the reason for the continuous failures. This dimensional tolerance does not allow the brass to properly sit underneath the claw, thus reducing extractor grip. With my mod in the last video, I don't think I created enough room, which added excessive tension when chambering. This likely led to the fail to feed seen in the last episode. Reviewing the pre and post mod images here, you can clearly see the modded extractor has more grip and gripping area. Once again, this is the same extractor in both images, just with or without fitment. If you recall in the last part, I mentioned that I cleared this one malfunction by racking the slide with additional pressure on the extractor. This falls in line with my findings of poor extraction grip and helps explain why the unmodified extractor had so many failures. This also can explain why my first modded extractor created a shift from complete failure to extracts to a majority of partial extraction failures. To properly fit the Beretta extractor, I used a diamond file set from Harbor Freight and carefully removed material from the back of the extractor claw. I took my time checking the fitment regularly and using my Beretta 92X as a trustworthy guide. Someone pointed out that I made a mistake in describing the Beretta extractor spring, and I'd like to correct that now. The Beretta spring is not a flat wire spring, it's a standard coil spring, but it does have flattened ends. With all of that addressed, it's time to hit the range again. I was fortunate enough to gain a few extra mags, so I was able to shoot 100 rounds unclipped, and that footage is shown here. "100 rounds, no malfunctions" on the Derya Melik pistol. After finally getting some successful performance out of the Melik, it was time to shoot my new 92X. I was using the Melik's factory 10-round mag and noticed it failed to lock open on empty. After messing around with it for a bit, I realized the magazine follower had broken and was no longer engaging the slide stop. I decided to run 30 more rounds to finish this trip at 130 rounds. So far, we have shot 100 recorded rounds in part 2, 300 recorded rounds in part 3, plus 20 rounds that were off camera at that time, and now 130 rounds in the just shown footage. This brings us to a sum of 550 rounds so far, so let's see how the parts are wearing. Looking at the modified Beretta Extractor after 130 rounds, it shows a minimal amount of wear at the very edge. This is not surprising or concerning at this time. I do want to mention I was experiencing some loosening on the grip panels earlier, so I did apply some blue Loctite to those screws to try to keep everything in place. Overall, the melanite finish on the slide is holding up well. There are some wear points at the front of the slide where the barrel rides. This can be seen on both the inner side and outer side. There is an odd wear mark at the front of the slide and a matching mark on the frame. Ideally, these two areas should not make any contact, but there seems to be a machining tolerance that is allowing them to rub. This damage is only cosmetic. The slide shows some minimal rounding at the bottom of the locking block grooves. I'm not concerned with the level that is currently seen. There is some cosmetic wear on the barrel hood where the slide interfaces. The underside of the barrel has some odd wear at the rear where the locking block interfaces. I'll reevaluate this after 1,000 rounds has been met. There is also some rounding to the front lugs on the barrel. This area makes contact with the slide under recoil. The frame shows heavy finish wear on the left side slide rails. Wear on the top of the rails looks fairly uniform. The right side of the frame shows almost no wear in comparison. This is clearly a tolerance issue. It's hard to say whether it's the slide or the frame or both that are responsible. There is some cosmetic wear where the trigger bar rubs the frame. This is typical and to be expected. While we're talking about the frame, I'll share some additional information from Derya's marketing team. I asked them about the construction process for the frame, to which I was told the Melik's frame is CNC machined from billet 7075 aluminum. This should produce a better product than a casting, and is pretty impressive for the price point. The locking block shows even wear, and nothing really stood out as concerning. There is some rounding to the front of the locking block, and this matches what we saw on the slide in the locking block grooves. Overall, the wear patterns seem a little abnormal as a result of inconsistencies in machining tolerances. Regardless, the handgun seems to be wearing into itself, and nothing made me feel like this handgun was ready for retirement. With that checked off the list, I wanted to run 100 more rounds to confirm my success with the Extractor modification. another 100. Let's wrap up. First, I want to let you know the series will continue, but it may see us slow in upload rates. Right now we sit at 650 rounds fired and only 350 to go. If all goes well, I will group this into one final shooting video and then do a full 1,000 round review quickly following. It could take up to 6 weeks for me to finish out the 350 rounds still scheduled because I want to take some time with my new Beretta 92X. With all of that covered, I would imagine there's at least one person out there that's looking for a go or no-go check from me. To that person or persons, I'll share with you the pros and cons I've found so far. First and foremost, this is a Beretta 92 pattern. With that, you get magazine compatibility. The sight picture is very good with the offset red front. The single action trigger has a really nice break. The price point is tough to beat. Slide and barrel finish is of nice quality and well done. Slide frame and barrel materials seem to be pretty well selected. The recoil is low and the action is smooth. Decent customer service is available, although I think if you have to send the pistol in for repair, it does require FFL to FFL shipment as opposed to being able to ship from your house. And it is mostly interchangeable with Beretta parts. For the cons, only one magazine comes with the pistol, and on the magazine that I had, the follower ended up breaking. There is clear risk of tolerance stacking or just general tolerance issues. I think my example highlights this perfectly. The double action trigger is quite heavy, and not 100% of the parts are Beretta interchangeable from what I read online. Ultimately, for my recommendation, do I recommend this pistol so far? I would say yes, but only to experienced buyers who are willing to tinker as I have if they come across some kind of issue like I have. And after about 15 minutes, we're going to close this one out. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate the support. If you enjoyed the video, go down to the comments section, let me know what your thoughts are, and I hope to see you in the next parts. Goodbye now.